have something I want to complete here, but what we did. This is Raed Kadur. He was the head of the Liaison Department in the IDF that was in charge of the security connections between ourselves and the neighboring countries, mostly Egypt and Jordan. Prior to that, he was the head of the Jordanian arena in the Liaison Department. And he's the Brigadier General, and until Mena will come, following what Amos just said, to what extent, let's put it this way, we are clinging so strongly to the security coordination and everything that is done on the table in clandestine manner, but from the other hand, to what extent into those security systems in Jordan it trickles down those political gaps that are becoming deeper and deeper between ourselves and the kingdom. So first of all, again, it's always an honor to appear after Amos, mostly because I can not to talk about the security cooperation because he brought it in the details. Well, we have another speaker who will be joining us. So let's look at the review that Justice Eliakim Rubinstein presented. He talked about the security cooperation with Jordan and Israel, and the secretive channel started when Jordan started, way before Israel began. So the peace agreement that was signed in... So today, she works in the Ministry of Defense. She was part of the Intelligence Service as well, Strategic Department. Yeah, that is not a strategic department any longer. They changed it. She was considered to be in the system. Miss Jordan, if you wanted to know something about Jordan, including Oded Oded always told me that the only one that understands matters of Jordan is Mena, so thank you for joining us. It was such an introduction, well. So peace agreement was supposed to open the civic channel. And the civilian channel doesn't exist. We can talk here for hours and hours. I heard people more optimistic, such as Shlomi, that very soon, the gate of Jordan, etc. I joined the Liaison Bureau in 2009, and they contacted us from the Regional Cooperation Ministry. They talk about the Jordan Gate. Silvan Shalom came to our office, and he said, I guarantee you I'll be promoting that. It's about time. It's from 96 they started, and he will do that for sure. And I'm very naively thought it will actually happen, by the way. We never mentioned, but the military liaison is part of any activity of cooperation between Israel and Jordan. There's a border committee, checkpoint committee, water committee. So all those summaries are always part of it. So we're part of it. Of course, it persuaded me that they're very serious. And I took upon myself an obligation, as I learned from Amos later on, not to do that. And I said, yes, absolutely. The serious minister will promote everything. And just exactly you described, now there is a whole intention. There was an intention like that 4 times at least since 2009, but this project will never become reality, not the Dead Red project as well, and the airfield, obviously, they killed it. And it's all our fault. You can always find someone who contributed in Jordan, obviously. Minor decision, they said no to something. So we can always blame them, but that would be whataboutism. In fact, you also said no, but we didn't promote it. We killed it, really. And I guarantee you that if you believe that such a corporation on security level will not be impacted by all the events that are happening, is completely wrong. Killed. I was in Jordan 2 weeks ago after the Iranian attack, and I went there to meet people, friends of mine. I must know some of them. He knows a few of them. And went to a restaurant in the evening, as always, and the answer I received as a summary from a friend. There was no fish like in Tunisia, for sure. No fish, though, but there was a lovely meat. No carbs, obviously. But what he told me in the end of the conversation, you know what's the difference between this meeting today and all the other meetings before we had? Today, I can't tell my friends that I met an Israeli friend. Said, listen, I'm a Druze. You can say, it's riot. And said, no, it doesn't matter, you're an Israeli. I can't tell no one that I met an Israeli person, but you speak Arabic, so I don't have a problem to meet with you outside. People don't know where you're from, but I will not tell my friends that you're Israeli. I want to highlight a question I asked you. Yeah, but wait a second, I'll explain to you a question. During those years, our eastern border was kept safely by the Jordanian military. They invested the efforts, forces. We put the required minimum. So recently we do see that there is a rise in contraband and smuggling, and there have been infiltrations. I don't know, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But is it a result of the very fact that the Jordanian military and security agencies also sense this lack of point in the peace agreements with Israel? No, I don't think so. It's like saying that if there is a terrorist attack in Hadera that left Judea and Samaria, it's because maybe Shin Bet doesn't want to prevent terrorist attacks. No, it's Amos has presented it and reviewed that very expansively. There is a concentrated Iranian effort to actually pursue such an activity at the Israeli border, and a very professional military that has highest motivation can't prevent everything, and the smuggling will continue. By the way, you can ask why it does arrive. There is IDF on the way. Where are the IDF then? They also have no motivation to prevent it. There is a different type of problem, but I think that as the time goes by, if you trust that the security channel, military channel, will remain stable and undermined without supporting civic channel, they're wrong. I see processes already that are hurting this channel, military channel. Mena, allow me to ask you, following Amos's statement, two things were heard. Amos mentioned an opportunity for regional cooperation that is still relevant. It's surprising, but it's actually still a possibility. And the Jordanian role within this matter, because Jordan was a little bit, I would say, reserved when it came to Abraham Accords. They didn't come for the Negev Forum, or at least with no enthusiasm. It's been said earlier at this conference that it's extremely important to impose upon Jordan some kind of significant role so they will become a positive player. What is happening there? What is the role that Jordan can take upon itself in order to become a positive and meaningful player? So, just a second, there is a problem with the microphone. I will open with the quite, I think, an expected statement that I've been blessed to work with my teacher and my mentor, Raed Kadur, God bless his memory, and better than any book I read about relationship between Israel and Jordan, he helped me to understand this absolute sanctity approach to this need, crucial need, everyday need of preserving the relationship, security relationship with Israel, and to turn them into a holy grail of our, it's only a solid rock of the relationships with this country. There was a vision and a window in the beginning, and now we are actually experiencing quite a bumpy ride. And concerning your question, Uday, unfortunately, regardless our understanding of importance of Jordan and the very fact that even those of you who worked in the field of security, you see Jordan as an anchor in the national security concept of Israel. This Holy Grail approach is not really manifested in the way we act. So we started normalization process when Jordan remained behind. We did it twice in Oslo Accords, it remained behind. And to a certain extent, we are diminishing, in a aware or non-aware manner, the role of Jordan, regardless its central role in this tapestry. Jordan doesn't have the financial capabilities such as Saudi Arabia. It has less significant strategic weight in the region than Egypt, but there are a few very important things that we tend to forget. Geostrategic location, that is extremely significant as a transitional point in context of the connection between the East and the West. And when it was convenient for us during the civil war in Syria, we knew how to use the geolocation quite well. Jordan is significant in its connection to the West, its ability to become a player that knows how to engage bigger players for the benefit of help to Israel. Just recently, it's been mentioned here in the Iranian context and the statements, Jordan was willing to out the fact that they participated in the defense of skies of Israel and participate and partake in the American activity in this region, to a certain extent, is some kind of attempt to show, look, I'm here, I can contribute, I'm significant, use me, I'm here, I'm meaningful. I think that today, no doubt that Jordan is a place, its capabilities are limited. I think an ability to become a significant pivot in security, in a civic world, economical world, this ability can be quite real. When we talk about the entry of the Saudi player into this arena and a generation of regional conditions that will allow the beginning of such cooperation, Jordan can play a significant role in such a process. There was a paper we didn't publish, and Dad worked on this paper significantly. We try to look into theoretical opportunity. One of the claims that we have towards the Palestinian Authority is not the fact that they're not actually taking care of the garbage of population. It's because we still have to contribute to fight on terror. So the question is, can we cast upon Jordan a role that is more significant in the war on terror as a part of the Palestinian Authority in work guidelines, or maybe some kind of joint work with the Palestinian security mechanism? Is it a possibility? It's a complete taboo that they don't cross Jordan? Israel, and I look at this day really, so I have a right to summarize it before Tamir does. Israel is a very dangerous place for its enemies, but it's not necessarily a very worthwhile ally. And I don't see Jordan now starting to get involved in all the events in the Palestinian Authority with the Palestinians, against the Palestinians, when the population in Jordan can see it as a collaboration with Israel. No, I mean, Jordan constantly wants that Israel will create political process with Palestinians, diplomatic solutions, steps towards the Palestinian state. To what extent they're willing to contribute to that? Well, Jordan, I don't think they can actually think about this collaboration. Again, it's all very theoretical. When we travel to Jordan, we will not talk about all the details, but if you needed detail, and 10 guards arrived armed. Today, well, it was very different before, when the heir to the throne, for the first time after the Six-Day War, came to visit the Temple Mount. They annulled his visit because there were too many armed guards. That's obviously policy, and it's a horrible damage. I read an article about that said the visit of the heir to the throne on Temple Mount seems so naive, but it's a king sent him in order to build, I don't know, the future kingdom or whatever. Why would you be concerned? He's the future king. It's our partner. We actually need to reinforce them and to invite them to visit the holy places here. And I don't see any cooperation in the near future between Israel and Jordan. I actually see quite a dwindling of, unfortunately, the security channel.
I want to ask you something that we referred to earlier this day. We haven't discussed the fabric of the balance of powers in Jordan. We talked about the rise of the Muslim Brothers, the relationship between the Transjordan and the Palestinians. Let's not ignore two things. Hostility towards Israel, according to surveys conducted in Israel, is harsher in comparison to all the other Arab states. And the support of Hamas on October 7th was greatest. Are there any signs that indicate that something may impact within Jordan the policy of the Jordanian palace? Well, that's $1 million question. I don't have $1 million, neither do the Jordanians. I'll try to respond to this in a relatively simplistic or simple manner. I'll say that the internal stability in Jordan, and therefore the militarily stability of our border with Jordan, stemmed from three main reasons. First, is the king's intelligence, King Hussein's and King Abdullah's intelligence in maintaining that subtle balance between the two major sources of power in the Palestinian publics, which are the Palestinians, which is an heterogeneous population, but I will refer to them as one, and the Transjordanians. And the king's ability to wisely maneuver between these two power groups and satisfying these two groups when the Palestinians that are at present the majority in Jordan, he signs an unwritten deal with the Palestinians that you be quiet, because I remember Black September, the problematic potential of Palestinians within Jordan. And I'll give you residency or even citizenship to the elite that has found its place in the business sector. Now, the Transjordanians who see themselves as owners of the land, I'll nurture your status in return for loyalty. And in the course of the years, his ability to maintain these two groups has brought him peace and quiet. Beyond that, Jordan is not a tribal state. It's a Sunni homogenic state as opposed to Iraq or Syria, and that has prevented in the course of the year the ability of terror entities, including Iran, to establish themselves within the Jordanian territory. And thirdly, the external aid to Jordan, which is an oxygen pipe which enables the king to maintain all this. Now, what has changed since October 7th? Well, this question should be regarded in the course of time, but I'll say that the very hostile anti-Israeli sentiment before October 7th has indeed reached new heights. And I think that we're seeing a rise in the Palestinian courage in the street, whether it's in its support in Hamas and the enabling of protests on behalf of Hamas. I would say that the reference to October 7th says Tufan al-Aqsa and the Israelis as conducting a second Nakba to the Palestinians in Gaza presses a lot of painful points for the Jordanians and Palestinians alike, and this is a fertile ground for terror activities. We've seen recently 2 terror attacks. They're relatively few in relation to the number of terror attacks we've seen from elsewhere, but they are concerning, including the involvement of Transjordanian involvement from the El Houtat tribe. We should consider that. I would like to say in the Iranian context, we've heard earlier today that there are those who think that Iran has no interest in establishing itself in Jordan. I think it's a mistake. I think that the Iranians are looking to establish themselves in Jordan based on the understanding that its location. Amos too said it loud and clear. Yes, and I think that despite the Sunni homogeneity, which makes it difficulty, there's refugees, there are Hasis and Palestinians in Jordan, and a rise in religious radicalism. Now, imagining an Iranian proxy in Jordan is a nightmare, and I think we could stop it now. And looking at Jordan, security-wise, should be from the perspective that Jordan is part of the solution rather than the problem. So any decision, such as the establishment of that Eastern Battalion, should be in collaboration with the Jordanian, not against them or despite them. Just to conclude, one sentence from each of you. Let's say, let's not say the prime minister would come in or someone who we want to influence from the Israeli policymaking. What is the one recommendation you would give them in terms of the Jordanians? Look, it's pretty simple. We have to approach the Jordanians as partners rather than someone who's working for us. And once we do that, everything will happen. We don't deem Jordan, or the political ranks doesn't approach Jordan as an equal partner. We behave as a guardian of that state. Well, I would say don't first. And seriously, I would tell that person from the Jordanian perspective that the Jordanian outlook towards Israel in the course of the year is of ingratitude. You've made peace with us. You've promised us the fruits of the peace, if we may call it that. And then you only refer to the military aspect. You only looked at your narrow interests rather than us. And I think that from this perspective, I would say that today, after October 7th, we need the Jordanians. And they won't be there when we need them in real time. Thank you, Mena and Raed. Thank you for listening.